We'll hold the chairman's remarks otherwise, other than it's great to see everybody. And, look forward to discussing a lot of issues today. So approval of the minutes. We have our regular meeting September 16th. Are there any questions on the minutes from last meeting? No, if not, I'll take a motion to approve. Sari, second. Tom, all in favor? Aye. Okay. Communications from our CEO, Peter.
Yes, thank you. I have a number of items that I'll just touch on. A lot of them will be presented at the actual substantive part of the board meeting. The curb cleanup, which is that's just a shorthand for what we're doing up on that big board there. John O'Donnell will make a presentation. We also have some pictures of the actual plans that were drafted, and this is a working document in front of you by Creighton Manning. They're traffic experts. We also have revised signage within the garage and throughout the terminal, and that's a constant work in progress, particularly as things move around with the construction. The curb's going to move again too, and steel's coming. So things are going to constantly change, but we're being ever vigilant and keeping the place clean, keeping it orderly, and trying to reduce friction points for the traveling passenger. That's really the touchstone that we measure all these decisions by. So we're trying to make it a good experience for the traveler. We have a performance audit RFP that's out on the street. I think all the returns are going to be due at the end of the month. I don't have the exact date at my fingertips, but it's within a matter of days. That's going to come in, and we'll from that we'll select and bring a name to you, a recommendation for the performance auditors. On the agenda, you'll see that we have a recommendation for an insurance broker, and we're going to be looking for ways to save on insurance with the construction. The cost of insurance with the builder's risk policy and the attendant liability policies, our insurance costs have gone up during the course of construction, and we're going to work hard with the new broker to try to reduce those costs. You'll see on the agenda also there's a 9-month extension with our contract with Avports. We've had fruitful discussions with them. We're going to extend the contract for 9 months, and we're going to talk about incorporating performance measures in their contract. We can talk about that more. They're called PFMs, Performance Measurement Framework, and KPIs, Key Performance Indicators. So we're looking for ways to incorporate that. We have 9 months to talk about that. I think they want to talk about it on the board level to some extent. So I know Sam's involved. Tom was involved in discussions when we negotiated the 9-month extension. We also want to bring you a lot of information about finishes and final decisions that have to be made. And John's going to make some presentations today. I mean, it's really a substantive filled board meeting, I think, today. You can see that the column wraps material are on that display right there. And then there's some interior finishes that are on that little plate. But we'll go through that. And then Kathy's going to make some presentations as to furniture and what else. Oh, and the children's room and so forth. So I think we'll find that interesting, and there'll be choices to be made. And we want the board to have input into all those choices. And if we're going to err on the side of giving you too much information on all those things. We also have talked about a measured advertising program throughout the terminal, and John's gotten feedback from some other. We're not going to get bogged down in that, but I just want to mention that we're looking to put an advertising RFP on the street this month. And we'll see what comes back with that. And we want feedback from the board of how extensive or how non-extensive they want to go with that. And then we'll get into the particulars as well. We're also, Margaret went out for quotes on a parking study to see how efficiently we are gathering revenue from the parking study. Our expenses have gone up, but I think our parking fees have lagged behind a little bit. We've gotten feedback that $14 in a garage is maybe a record, maybe a low in the region and low for other airports. So we're going to go carefully on that because obviously we care about the impact of that as does the board on the consumer, on our passengers who are our main client. That's it for my introduction, and a lot of these issues we'll get more into in more detail during the course of the meeting.
Okay, thanks, Peter. CEO, John.
Okay,
COO.
thank you. Like Peter was saying, we've done a lot of improvements to the interior of the terminal, and Take a lot of confidence, really positive of what we've done just by cleaning it up, making it more presentable as we traverse, especially through the ticketing area. I think the folks with Atports did a great job of painting and dressing up the area very nicely. We have those sonotube covers to the columns, and it took that kind of like walking through a construction zone, an active construction zone away, where we returned it back to an active airport. So what I'd like to start with, right next to the left of Chief Dorsey, is what we've been doing on the curb. We experienced a lot of congestion right here on the front of the curb. And where the vehicles would get congested in the morning, there was 2 lanes open, they'd block up and they'd go all the way down to the signal. And it was a very frustrating time for our travelers. The same would occur, for the arrival. Once again, the curb would get jammed up in the evening hours from like 5 to 11 o'clock, and the traffic would just back up and people could not pick up the loved ones. So what we've done over the last a couple of weeks is we've implemented some plans. And what we have here is on the ticketing side, we've retained a firm by the name of Creighton Manning, and they are in design right now to extend the drop-off area for the full length of the south parking garage. And what we'll do is we'll have 1 lane of drop-off, and we'll have 1 through lane that begins at the beginning of the south garage. It's going to go right through the front of the terminal. We'll have 1 driving lane, so it'll always remain open, the furthest left lane. So this is going to increase greatly the amount of drop-off space. So people will likely be stopping well before the ticketing area, dropping off their luggage and their loved ones and passengers, and they can traverse into the ticketing area. We believe that's going to open up that and make it a much more accommodating affair to drop off. And on the baggage side, we're adding this lane similar to what we did in ticketing. Once again, this is going to be open. This was restricted to parkers and no standing. We're opening that up now. We'll be straightening it with Ray Keneally's folks within a day or 2. And with that too is we're going to open up the commercial lane. Right now, the commercial lane is blocked off. We're going to have an access point which will be paved tomorrow, and this will be opened up to shuttle buses, limos, park and fly, and our own Lot E shuttles. So we believe this is going to greatly access and give a lot more flexibility, make it more convenient for the travelers to have these additional areas for the vehicle traffic. Any questions on this before I move on to the next?
Great Manning, have they been a sub of the project?
Yes, they are. They're in the inspection side, but we're using them on this.
So it's just an expansion of their
This
services.
is sort of emergency work. That's how we view this kind of projects. It's well under $50,000 what we're doing, maybe the $25,000–$30,000 total design fees with this assistance right here.
I mean, using using that whole roadway makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I'll confess that a few times I've flown out, I get dropped off at the south garage.
Okay.
And walk through that entrance. So it makes sense. It's just you need to people are kind of catching on to that and doing that. So I think formalizing it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and let me just restate what you just mentioned. I think it's a great tip for Steve, maybe to put on our social media, is that all of our parking garages we have at least a half-hour free parking. So you can pull into short term, you can pull into the south garage, and each level has a large drop-off lane. You can drop off there, exit without a charge, and avoid the entire terminal. So you can do that in the north garage, the south garage, short term, and even long term. You can just stop in the lane, unload, and walk into the terminal. So that's a great tip for those people that frequent the airport often.
I got a comment yesterday from somebody who's in an official capacity. And they said, be careful about the through lane, people going too fast. And I think that's something we should be careful of that. Yeah. I don't know what your observation is there. Because once they see a free lane, they zip. Yeah.
Once it gets busy, people do seem to proceed cautiously. But if it's open, you're right.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of turns and maneuvers you have to make to even get through with the construction. You are being shifted as you pass the terminal, so.
Can you talk about when the steel's coming in and when they're gonna have to alter the lane, right? And
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. They're setting up for the crane now. If you go out and look, they've got this large dunnage, which is like 8 by 8 by 20 foot pieces of timber. That serves as the base for the crane. So the crane should be coming in, starting erecting the crane. John can help me with this.
Tomorrow. They're
Tomorrow,
gonna start
there we
tomorrow,
go.
bringing pieces in, set up on the crane mats, and then they're expecting steel to be delivered sometime next week. We're not exactly sure. It depends on how fast the crane goes.
It's a very large crane. What is it? 250,
Yeah.
250 ton
150
crane.
ton.
When you have that size crane, you need another crane to assemble that crane. That's how big the crane would be. And they'll start off the garage first and do the area
Correct.
on the side of the garage. So the road won't move for maybe, how long do you think, a couple weeks?
It'll be at least 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
Yeah.
And then what we'll do is the crane will then move terminal side, in which the road will shift left.
Yeah.
2 lanes, we'll always have 2 lanes right immediately in front of the terminal at night construction. So and that'll run for about
That'll
3 months.
be there for a couple of
3
months, yeah, and then they'll have to switch back again. So it'll go back and forth a couple times to make the completion, so we're never working over the live roadway.
thank you.
So moving on to the phasing, we actually have, I worked with John worked with me, let me know it's. Could go either way. We worked with MLB, Turner and CHA and developed the schedule that we all feel very comfortable with, and I'd like to go through that right now. So this shows 4 phases. There is a 5th phase, and the 5th phase is actually a concourse A work, and that will follow this level of work here. But what we wanted to do, as I mentioned at the last board meeting, what we want to do is, offer areas that are complete and open to the public sooner than later. So what we have here in phase 1, we have the business center will be redeveloped, and I believe it's called now the Travelers Lounge, but unfortunately called the Travelers Lounge. And we have a different host of functions in there that we originally had. Like there's a writer's lounge, there's the meditation room, there's individual small offices in this newly defined space. In addition to that, we'll have the children's play area, in which that'll also be done. All this work is going to be done on this winter 24, 25. We're looking at like January, maybe end of January to open these up. And then the children's play area, the contract will be done in around end of January. However, the artwork, and I'm going to have Kathy Greenwood talk about the artwork, because the artwork will begin to be installed. And she advises us that we can continue to use the space as she's doing the incorporation of the artwork.
Where does that show?
That's actually not shown on this side. It would be like right here, right off that drawing. It's a concourse B area, first level. And in addition to that, there's a sensory area for children and other for special needs children. Right? So that's phase 1. That's going to be completed in the 2024, 25 duration. In phase 2, this is the green area. This is the ticketing area. It's the high wall, new ticketing counters, and also high wall here, and also the rental car areas. And we're going to, not included in the contract are the high can lights, the high cylindrical lighting, and Rick Neely and his folks are going to be replacing those because they extended their useful life. And LEDs are about 7 years. Since we're 24/7, they're on continuously. They only last 7 years, so we have to replace all the lighting fixtures in this high bay area. We're responsible. The airport's responsible for the circular cylindrical lights, and there's a band of lights that are going to be provided by the contractor. So this work will be done in summer of 25. In phase 3, now this is where the where we can take advantage of the new queuing area. So phase 3 work is going to, what will be completed is we're gonna have the 4 new escalators in this location here. It's gonna be the queuing area. Once again, I'm on the 2nd level. Queuing area will be open with the exception of this zone right here. And this zone right here is where the existing escalators are located. So one night in the fall of 2025, we will close this area off to the traveler, and we will open up these new escalators. So the passengers, as they come in, the ticketing will be on the 1st floor in this ticketing area, drop off your bags to your airline, proceed here to the left. Here's the end, the bottom of the escalator, go up the escalator, and we go into this new queuing area, and this will be complete. With the terrazzo floor will be done, the new glass walls will be up, ceilings will be all done. The scanners will be located in the original position though, because we will not be able to move those forward, and you'll learn why in a moment. The scanners will remain back here. This whole area will be for queuing, and it'll be 100% done in this region here, and that's in the fall of 25. We need to complete, then we move to phase 4. And phase 4 is to demolish the existing escalators, do a floor over, because this floor is not here now. It's that curved wall and flooring system in here. This is where the platform is. The platform goes down in this location, right here. So when this, as we open up this space, this will be closed off. Those escalators are being moved. The floor will be moved. Steel will be placed in this location. This will be floored over. New terrazzo will be put down. When this is down, this new flooring, with this flooring as completion of phase 3, so the phase 4, this new flooring will be completed. This whole area will be done. The TSA will still be functioning back in this area, and we'll move one scanner at a time forward. So we always have 5 open, because as you know, we have 6, and that's how we build the lines with 6. So we still have 6 in the complete design. So taking one down is going to mean we'll have that much less ability to get passengers through. So we'll be moving one scanner forward at a time. And phase 4, when this is complete, this will be the winter 2025, and we'll have we'll have some work to do down here in the elevators and connected to the drive, but not much. This work will probably be done sooner than the flooring over. That's the schedule, and the last phase is, of course, Concourse A, and that seems to be going very well. It's independent. I can get into that if you wish. That has 4 of its own separate phases, but they're very simplified, and it's a very easy project to understand. And I can do that in the next meeting if you wish. Yes.
Just a quick question, a lot, and it's fantastic, so thank you. The elevators in the garage
Yes.
that are being replaced,
Yes.
those will be accessible again
Yes.
winter
They'll-
2025,
Well,
in the orange
Well,
section, in the garage,
okay.
or is that a phased?
No. That's
Apologies.
This shows it done be winter 2025.
Right,
However, the plan is, and John can always support this.
John's been
Do you want to
pushing.
say what you want to say? 'Cause
Yeah.
this was John's initiative, because we talked about the schedule, and he said we have to have.
We have to have those elevators available. What that will do for us, if we have those available in phase 3, which is the paint that you were looking at, Sari,
Mhm.
if we can have those available, that's gonna cut off a lot of traffic, people coming out of commuter traffic, like business traffic. They come in with just a rolling carry-on, they got their phone, they got their ticket, they just wanna roll up to the TSA and get the first floor emptied out and help clean that out if we can get those. So we're really gonna push MLB to
Right.
have those.
so it might not be completed.
Well, it'll be
But
completed
it'll
enough
be
so they'll
that-
be usable.
that
We
they'll be
wanna push
usable.
them.
That was my
The equipment
question.
is here. The equipment is on site. We have it all stored, so we're gonna push both Kone, who's the elevator, escalator install, and MLB to have that ready. So in phase 3, that's John and I are gonna really
So they come
lean
into
on
the
them.
old garage and go
Yeah,
right
you in the
to
old garage,
gym.
you'll be able to go up and down the levels and walk right in, which would be nice.
Versus going down. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe I missed that meeting, but I don't recall ever seeing a print for level 3, or what's actually going on.
Okay, I kind of.
Anybody remember
I
that?
didn't hit that. This is
We've
going,
never been shown a
Yeah.
plan.
okay, well, I can definitely go over that whole thing. That, we can do it in November.
20 seconds on what it is.
But I also want to talk more about it.
I bet you-
Okay, so, part of phase 3, which is, it's not a difficult lift to do this, this part of the project. This is, because this is existing, the interior, this is existing. This is a new mechanical room, this is a new mechanical room, which are basically just walls, extending the roofs and extending the front of this building. This is an office area. And I'll talk further about, this is a glass wall that overlooks the queuing area. So these offices right in here overlook this queuing area. This is 3rd floor. It overlooks this area here where you'll be all the folks queuing down in here. So that is definitely part of the project. It's going to be easy to fairly easy to construct. We'll get this done by the fall of 2025.
John,
Yes.
so those are anticipated to be authority offices, and
Yes.
so then is it enough room for how many staff? Do you guys have a plan yet for that?
Well,
We have an evolving plan, and we'd rather not talk about it yet. But we're going to suggest some adjustments for sure.
To that set.
Yeah.
Yes.
And phase
And then
4,
that's
is that
the
the
design.
excavation?
Yeah.
Or is that?
Yeah, that's the removal.
That's
That's
the
the removal of the. I apologize for not getting into more detail. That's just demolition of the partitions we have out front to return it back to the observation area. And there are many nuances in the schedule regarding how it's constructed, which I will get into at a future time. Because it's the way the design is that we're building into and above an existing functioning airport. And how this is going to be phases, even though we call it these major phases, there's probably 20 different phases in how this is going to be built in order to maintain passenger traffic within the airport while it's being constructed.
And it opens as
Yeah.
you go along.
And
Versus-
each phase has multiple phases for the construction crew and the designers to achieve this project completion.
I
How
know,
does it differ from what you walked into? What was the opening, in terms of the opening plan? It was one, so everything was gonna be walled off basically, and then there was gonna be like a.
Yeah,
unveil
yes,
something?
it was more of a not turning over this entire space till the end. It was one completion date, which our view of it, this is the better way to approach it. And everyone's in agreement, by the way. MLB is in total agreement with this, the designers, everyone appreciates this phasing concept.
I think we're all on the same page with that.
Right.
At the end of the day, that's what's best for passengers, functionality.
Right.
people are missing the observation deck. I've seen.
I don't blame
some
Yeah.
I've seen some comments,
Yeah,
and
we reflect
people have asked me, when's it opening? And people are missing it, so that's great.
Okay, the next element that I'll talk about is once again, the children's play area is going to be done this winter, January is our schedule. But Kathy Green would like to talk about the implementation of the artwork into that area, which is going to advance beginning of January, February, March, into April, maybe even further. And she'll talk about the art and the artwork that's going to go into that area.
Thank you, John. So I'm very excited to talk about this project. Many airports around the country have children's play areas. I believe that Albany will be the first and only one that incorporates significant works of art as well as a partnership with a nationally acclaimed science museum. So maybe around a year ago, maybe a little bit less, I was approached about this area and its development, and asked to commission a sculpture that would be suspended in one section of the area that would replace a previously designed kind of sculpture-esque element that the architects had proposed. So I went through the commissioning process and let's see. Went through the commissioning process and awarded the commission to an artist. I have show and tell here. Grace Lee Lawrence, who lives in the Hudson Valley. And her work is composed of 3D printed pieces. She works on a very large scale. She's a professor at University of Albany in sculpture. There was designated a theme around enchanted forest to kind of wrap this whole area in for children and families. So based on that, there were 3 folks that proposed pieces, and Grace Lee Lawrence was the awarded commission. And this is just a little maquette of the piece that you see rendered there. And I'll just pass this around for everyone to get a sense of what the material is like. And so this piece will be suspended and working with Turner and and architects to make necessary adaptations in the ceilings so that the piece will be structurally supported. So she was asked to also work on the environment around this piece, which will be, there will be application, kind of a vinyl application on the wall that will echo some of the patterns and colors that are in the piece itself. There will be sculptural elements on the wall that are 3D printed. And there's also a flooring just below that's suitable for something by children. So after this sculpture was commissioned, I was asked to just kind of do the whole floor. So, not being a children's play area development expert, I reached out to folks who are experts. I went to the Wild Center at Tupper Lake, which was just recognized by the New York State Museum Association for one of their exhibits for design excellence. They were voted best science museum in the country by USA Today readers in 2024, and they just happened to be in our backyard. I don't know if anyone's visited the Wild Center. It is an absolutely remarkable place. And I thought with the theme of Enchanted Forest and their high recognition nationally and within New York State, they might be a great partner for this project. So I reached out to them. They were very excited at the prospect of working with us. I visited the Wild Center and I noted several different exhibit areas that I thought might translate really well to this space that we have here. So one of them you see just down below Grace Lee's sculpture, there's this fallen log. And one of the areas that really impressed me at the museum was that really fully half the museum is outdoors. And they've created these wild walks that take you above the tree canopy. They have an area in the forest where children can clamber along stumps and fallen trees and really just kind of do what kids do. So one of the fallen trees had these roots that were expanding up to the sky. And I found it so beautiful and significant and could really lend itself to a work of sculpture. So Grace Lee is working on sort of a companion piece to her suspended sculpture that would be a fallen tree with its roots extended kind of up the wall that would allow children to climb on it to some limited extent, and have that activity incorporated in that area. So also, I mentioned that the Wild Center is so centered for the outdoors, for the Adirondack experience. And one of the areas that I identified as really signature for them is something called the Eagle Space. So you walk up on this extensive elevated trail that takes you through the tree canopy and leads you to this massive, probably 10 or 12 foot nest that they call the Eagle's Nest. And it overlooks this exact landscape that you see here. So what I'd like to do is to recreate a much smaller version of the Eagle's Nest that children can climb into. And then the viewscape there that you see is the one that you see from the Eagle's Nest, and that would be rendered in a translucent vinyl. So the view out on the tarmac right there is not particularly attractive, and so this would replace that. Another part of the exhibitions at the Wild Center that I was just really taken with was an area called the Thanksgiving Address, and this was created by Akwesasne Mohawk artist David Fadden, who was tasked with creating paintings that were then scaled up digitally and rendered sculpturally to create an environment of the Adirondacks. And at the Wild Center, it's very immersive. In fact, they've created a living environment where there are ducks and there's fish and there's other creatures actually inhabiting this installation. Here at the airport, we would take some of those already existing digital files and scale them appropriately for this space, and create them as almost three-dimensional, like pop-up items that kids could kind of play hide and seek around, walk in and among. And then David would create a mural, again, digitally rendered on the backdrop, that would indicate it in a Adirondack landscape. And I'd also like to incorporate the traditional Mohawk Thanksgiving address in text on the back wall. The Thanksgiving address it's not ancient. It's actually a fairly recent creation by the Akwesasne Mohawk that is, it's a series of just spoken texts that thank the different elements of nature for the way that they play into our lives, and it's a way that the Mohawk will start meetings, will gatherings, and it seems like a way that we could incorporate both something from the Wild Center and also an important part of New York State history. So that would be incorporated into the painting. And these were just some of those elements. There, of course, there is a little furniture, couple of seats for the grown-ups, but this is intended to be an active space for children. And that would just be a top view. I'm working with an exhibition designer who has worked extensively with the Wild Center on their award-winning exhibitions. And so he is helping to kind of articulate visually these different elements. Oh, I forgot one thing too. This right here, one of the things that another exhibit element that I thought was really wonderful there was something called the migration game, which is it's a game on the ground that people can choose what bird they're going to be, and they spin a little spinner, and they can go along these little spaces on the floor, and have the experience of a migrating bird. About half of migrating birds don't survive the winter. And so that's something that is incorporated into the game. And it's a beautiful part of their exhibitions. And this designer is going to redesign the game to fit the space on the floor. It would be rendered in, just like a floor decal material. And then Eagle's Nest would actually be centered inside that. So as people play the game, they would work their way into the Eagle's Nest. So as you can see, this is all pretty significant, time-consuming. It is all in process. All of the partnerships are in place. It's very likely that this part of it here, it will be completed before the rest of this. And so my sense is that after the general construction is completed, the flooring is in, that the furniture and that the sculptural elements here could all be in place in the spring. And then these pieces would probably come a couple of months later. So if I can identify that in terms of the phasing for this area, I would just ask for your support in allowing for the time to see this, I think, really important project to play through and show. So, any questions? I know that's a lot of information.
Do you have any questions for Kathy?
That's great, thank you.
What we're going to do next is briefly go through the furniture about as quickly as we can. And just to give you a sense of what is about to order, of all the variety of spaces which will be incorporating new furniture to complement the design of the interior.
So I'm going to talk briefly about the furniture. And here are some handouts that are just going to go with these slides that you can take. Expansion. There will be several new areas for seating, and some of these will have power, some will not. All of the fabrics have been already selected for these. They are all durable vinyls, suitable for the seating. I have product samples. If anybody would like to see those at some point, I won't show them now, but I'll be happy to share those with you. All the, the tabletop surfaces are solid seating and veneers.
I don't know the answer to that. How many of them have outlets?
In the ticketing area, I believe all but one.
Yeah, I would say the majority have
The
outlets. You
majority of
plug in
them
your
will have
phones.
outlets.
Majority of them. I mean, without getting into a specific number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
I'm sorry.
fully aware of, you gotta plug your phones in and laptops.
Everywhere you sit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Everywhere you sit.
In the ticketing area, my understanding was that there was one area that really couldn't do power. And I think that pre-security, it's less of a crucial issue because it's not as long of a dwell area. Post-security, it's an absolute must. Pre-security, I think people are not going as long. And so those are just some images that of those areas in ticketing. Pre-TSA, there's that lounge area just outside queuing that
It's like
that
a
John
meet and greet area.
Yeah, it'll be exclusive where people are waiting for friends and loved ones right here. And it'll be similar cafe tables and chairs to what we already have in the Times Square area. And so you can see some examples of those on the next page. Allows for wheelchair access. There will be these PSA screens. And then in what we're calling the recompose area, there will be some low bench type seating that is very resilient surface, you know, hard seating, not backed. It's just basically benches that people can sit on to gather themselves. And they're pretty interesting. They're these modular, solid surface pieces that will be weighted down with sandbags, so they can be moved, but not easily. And again, I have samples of all this material. The slotted bench we're replacing with one that is also wood, but it's a solid surface tile. Up here in the administrative lounge area, in the office area, there'll be some new conference furniture, some new task furniture. In the Travelers Lounge, AKA the Business Center, there will be a number of new types of furniture for people to use as gathering spaces, informal business working spaces. And then you talked about the children's play area, but just beyond that is going to be a sensory room for folks who need decompression within the airport environment, need, you know, a low sensory environment. And so there will be a number of products. You can see rocking chairs. These are sort of soft foams, climbing, and interactive puzzle pieces. These are lights that are embedded in the floor. And there's kind of a lounge seating area here. There's also these products that are especially geared toward folks who may need some sensory adaptations. And so those will be incorporated into the install. And so we've already talked about. I would like to say right now that it would be great to have options for something other than kids zone to call this room.
Oh, good.
Yeah, just putting it out there right now. Something other than kids zone or play area. Something more.
Yeah, just one quick question on the kids zone that popped in my head before. And thank you. The art piece it's amazing, and you know I'm a fan of all of that. So thank you for that effort.
Sure.
On the kids zone piece, just being a traveler and a mom, and what I've seen in other airports as it relates to kids zone, there's that toddler age or that walker. Mom's really nervous and dad or whomever about getting on an airplane. They want to climb all over everything. Will that area where they might not be able necessarily to engage in the sort of scientific aspect, is there that place where there can be some energy where, you know, and little ones are simple. They just want to climb on top and climb off and on. Is that incorporated into that kid zone as well?
Yes, that's a great question. And I thought about that too, also as a mom and remembering toddlers and how much trouble they can get into. So I was imagining that area where the bright green floor is beneath the suspended buses, where the fallen log is. That will be fairly low. The floor will be a 1-inch flooring, so it'll be soft. Kids can climb around on that log. I'm also I'm aiming to incorporate some other low climbing pieces in that
Great.
area that will look like low stump like objects, so kids can kind of climb around on the stumps, whether they're crawlers, whether they're toddlers. And so that'll be a very safe area for kids that
For
age.
that age as well.
Yeah, and the seating, I'm designing to kind of, to serve as kind of a barrier between those two areas, but the seating will also face both directions. So parents can sit and face that area, but they can also face the other area. So,
Okay, great, thank you.
Hey, John. You just help us understand, maybe the contracting with this particular furniture vendor. Not that I have a problem with Geneseo, but there's some high quality furniture, MWD furniture vendors in the capital region. Just something I always prefer for us to, shop local, buy local if possible. So I'm just curious, I never heard of this company, I just looked them up. I'm curious how this came to be. And
Actually, I'd have to ask my other folks if they have any knowledge. I wasn't here during that selection phase.
During the research for that, they came up with that company had one under a state contract that had the type of furniture with the resilience and the weight ability that they had. They worked directly with a woman, and she came in and we had a couple of proposals come in, and they were the one that brought in the samples that seemed to fit the most.
So is this bid? Does this bid out these specs?
New York State
New York
contract.
State contract.
It's
Yeah.
Which complies, that complies if you buy off the state contract.
And
So everything we're buying is on state contract.
Correct.
for the
Yes.
furniture, like, let me follow up. Is the designer part of the state contract, or is that someone that we hired?
No, that came through
New
the
York
DHA, the Gensler, and we worked
Okay.
with them as part of that design. And they're the ones, they brought in samples, the architects brought in samples and all that. And they said they just had the type of furniture that they were looking for. And that's why it ended up being selected that way.
Yeah, no, I get it. I just think we have an opportunity to put dollars in the local economy. I think we want to try to, and not for this, the ships for sale on this one, but I think I'll just make a general statement that it'd be nice for us to, go out of our way to find, vendors who are in this local economy. That's just something, this is a small piece of it, but in general.
And they use this type of furniture on high traffic.
Yeah, this is all designed for high traffic use. Number of grubs, like 10,000 grubs.
100,000.
100,000.
100,000 minimum.
Yeah.
So it's durable.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Kathy. Let's move on to CFO, Michael.
Thank you. The things I really want to talk about today. August, the employment, you'll see the number for September, we had 120,000. That was just a guesstimate. We just got the numbers in this morning. It's 127,000, an increase of 5.8%, which is really good news. Next. FBO, the gallons, it's out in range with the other months, nothing, just stable. Next. Operating revenue increased 6.2 million, one of the highest, if not the highest month we've ever had for the operating revenues. Next. Operating revenues in line with previous months, however, it is the largest that we have had for the month of August. Rental car revenues, by design, it's interesting. August came down a little bit, but the rental car revenues are the strongest in summer months, August, September, or July, September, due to the track season. Next. Operating expenses came down, not as low as I would like to see them, but they are below the line. That, of course, is a big increase that we have for the security in front of the terminal. Operating profits, very stable. These operating profits go towards the payment of debt service. Year-to-date operating revenue is strong. We're above average or favorable to the budget. in year-to-date operating expenses. Next. Are favorable, not as much as I would like to see them. They are favorable to the year-to-date budget. Next. Good news is this is the second thing I wanted to draw your attention to. We are at zero for the line of credit. We just got payment from the state last Friday. So for right now, at this moment in time, we have zero outstanding on the line of credit, which is a good thing. Next. The third thing I want to say, the PFC application. PFC application number 6 was approved on Friday, and the 2 other amendments were approved earlier in the week. This will allow us to take money from the PFC cash and put it towards the capital account and repay our airport development fund. Now we do have we will have an amendment on that PFC application sometime in the future. And of course, the board will approve that. The reason why we have that is because we had, at the time, May 22nd, when we had our airline consultation meeting, we were going to possibly have funding with debt for PFC. We are not doing that. We're doing it for cash. So that interest now will be amended into the program. Again, the board will see that application and approve it. The budget 2025 process, in front of you, I did provide the third draft of the budget. There's also a cover letter explaining the budget for 2025. I also provided the PowerPoint presentation for the committee that we must have. Sometime between now and, if we want to, we can have the meeting on November 13th before the commission, or before the board meeting, or a few days before. But we need that meeting because we have to have the auditors present. And I can go through that presentation at that time or at a committee meeting before then. I'll do whatever the board desires. You could even have it now if you wanted to. However, it is a 54-page PowerPoint. I doubt that you want to do that right now, but I'm open to that. So we have our option between now and November 13th. If we could schedule a committee meeting, that's what I need. Yes, sir.
Let's go back to slide 2.
Sure.
I just want to ask you a question about payments.
Sure.
So I see that, so just payments for September. So August, we had a really high payment, one of the highest we've ever had. And it looks like our dip from 149 to 120. And it kind of tracks in terms of what typically happens between August and September in some ways. In some ways, it seems like a little more. Is there any particular reason why why we had that drop?
The drop is always there, and it's usually because August is our busy month. Everybody goes back to school, and September is a low month. That's not only this year, of course, but that would be across the country. I don't have a specific for them.
I just want to make sure there's no particular reason. It's typical. And then it looks like we got the annual payment, the projections.
That will increase to 1.484 now with this increase in the September numbers. We went up 7,000 now, 7,000.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions, Michael? Okay, thank you. John Leclerc, project development.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I won't waste too much of the board's time on the terminal checkpoint because I think John O'Donnell did a pretty good job noting what's going forward. But going for just a quick update, they are still pouring concrete over by the garage. They've got a couple more pours to get the elevator shaft ready as the crane's being built. As I said, the steel will be coming in sometime next week. Let's start setting steel. Moving on to A concourse. So now that is moving really well. The whole asphalt piece you see to the right of that building is gone, pulled out. Malloy's got it all dug out. It's all ready. They're putting in the sub-base material as we speak. They're planning on, you have to put 2 lifts of asphalt on top of it, and then you put 13 inches of concrete. They're planning on having that done by the end of the month. So that'll be interesting to see if they can pull that off. The boarding bridges, we had our kickoff meeting with VRH. They're a company out of New Jersey. We investigated them. They're very adept. They do a lot of work at JFK, LaGuardia, Newark. They're ready to go. We're asking them to speed up the production of A6 if we can, because A6 is currently out of service. So they're using their influence with JBT to see if we can get that speeded up a little bit. Runway 119 rehab with the lighting upgrade. We're currently working with CNS, who is the design engineers for the runway part, to get the threshold bars designed for new lights in accordance with the Mauser upgrades with the FAA. I expect to have them anytime now, and then we'll take that to Calanian in their sub to get some quotes for the prices. Addition to that, the FAA is supporting that with us, so that'll be good to have that. We get that done at the same time we do the shutdown, the 7-day shutdown. So that'll really make that fly. Air traffic control tower. They're at a little bit of a standstill right now. They're waiting on the equipment for the 3rd floor air handler, which unfortunately is being manufactured in Florida. So we got a little slowdown on that. Everything else is done, so it's just a matter of waiting for those parts to get here. They were supposed to have shipped on the 9th. They did not. They're expecting them to be shipped out later this week and get them in. So it'll be a little bit of a drag. So we will go into November just a little bit for the testing and balancing, but that will finish out. There is an action item on the board agenda today for Greenman Peterson, who's been our inspection engineer. They also provided escort for the mechanical and electrical contractors to help them get in and out. There was I'll explain that when I do the board item, but there is an action item for that. Main terminal elevator replacements. So I'm expecting those to be shipped sometime later this month. They're in manufacture right now, expecting to get them sometime mid-November, in which case we will start with elevator number 11, which is over in Southwest. So it won't disrupt any of our holiday traffic over that corner. The only ones that really use that are the Southwest people and some of us that work, the air building maintenance at. So it won't affect any airline travel. It's not a public elevator, so that'll be where we'll start. Airfield lighting controls. Currently, the whole system is installed. The tower air traffic control tower people are spending 2 weeks with Eaton Krause Hines to get trained on the system, and we expect to switch the system over on the 28th of October. It should be a one-day switch it over, get it going, and Eaton Krause Hines will leave a tech here for 2 days to make sure that the switchover is on board and everybody's good with the system. Shouldn't be a big deal. It's not much different than what they have now, so it'll be a lot nicer though. And then the Mauser lights, we continue to press the FAA for those, and we're still on the 2026 schedule. And if we can get them sooner, we'll add them onto the Runway 119 project. Happily take any questions.
Any questions for John?
Thank you.
And Council, Chris.
Thank you, Chairman. Just very briefly, by way of an update from the full board, last Wednesday, we had the governance committee meeting, which is the last one for the year as required by the budget office. All 3 members of the committee were present. Review of the bylaws, the authority bylaws, the governance committee charter was done. There were no recommendations made for change. In addition, Sari, the chair of the governance committee, I believe is distributed to everyone, the self-evaluation, which is also required by the ABM. That's it. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Chris? Thank you. Consecutive Ambassador Program, Helen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have 127 concession employees with a 63% minority representation. Our 3 main contracts, their August revenue was $1,778,000 and change, and that yielded $11.91 per enplanement. We also had our annual inspections with the Albany County Health Department, and every one of those rating score was excellent for every location. The Ambassador Program, they've been staying busy. We had a tour in October with our students going to the firehouse in Luminaire. K-9 program is actually very busy. 825 hours were volunteered in September. And we've almost stopped about 65,000 personal assists with our ambassadors helping individuals. And the business center stays active. Our students are here from Oberlin University in Tokyo. They've been here since August 27th, and they'll be here through December. They're here for the fall semester at Albany. And they've been coming here 3 times a week as ambassadors, and they're doing a great job. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Helen? Okay, thank you. And Public Affairs, Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Over the last month, in terms of traditional media, the covered third with the business review about airport leadership and the direction that the airport's going. We had News Channel 10 at the ARPDRO. We had 90 volunteers participating in an aircraft incident over at their training aircraft by the cargo facility. We had a lot of media regarding the hurricanes in Florida, both Helene and Milton, because we have so many direct flights to Florida. Just last week, we had 25 students from Denmark who are part of a partnership with Hudson Valley here at the airport touring the construction site. Uncommon Grounds has got some media coverage that they'll be coming here to the airport. Press release went out during the September board meeting regarding the construction phases. That's coverage on that. As you've seen, we are going to be having Southwest going to be having a nonstop flight to Nashville, Tennessee. And there was some coverage beginning November 7th. We had the Velo flight, the inaugural flight to Charlotte. So plenty of traditional media coverage over the last month. A lot going on social media. I'll just go over a couple of them. Obviously, the DNA flight. The students up there in the blue jackets are what Helen just alluded to. Those are our students from Tokyo. It's the first time I ever saw a KC-35, one of those planes that fuels aircraft in the air. It was here on a diversion, so that was kind of cool. The airport, the ARP drill. Peter and John met with Hudson Valley leadership over at the Aeronautical Institute for a walkthrough. There they are with the chief officer over there. Down in the bottom right-hand corner, that's Joshua and Leanna Pearson. They were the winners of our Las Vegas promo. They wasted no time going to Vegas for a long weekend because they're about to experience the joys of parenthood. She's expecting, so they wanted to get their trip out of the way. So a lot going on social media. Construction updates, continue to put stuff out there via social media and traditional media. Obviously, the concourse we had some signage changes. Kathy's been very busy with signage in the garage. These 2 pictures over here on the right, that is the vestibule that's been open since moving the fence and cleaning up some of the curb. And then, as you saw when you walked in, the sonotubes over the scaffolding and ticketing, just cleaning up that area. So a lot going on regarding construction. Just staying consistent with messaging on that. In terms of the insights on social media over the last 90 days, got a reach of 1.3 million on Facebook, 96 posts, and engagement of 267,000. Instagram over 90 days, 11,000 reached, 93 posts, and 1,100 in the engagement. Continue to update the website, both the newsroom, the terminal extension page, and as I mentioned last meeting and during the CIC meeting last week, there's now a landing page specific to the Concourse A rehabilitation page. So people can have information on that. That's all I got. I'm going to take any questions.
Question for Steve? Being busy, thank you. Getting into action items. We'll start with 10.1, Michael.
We're requesting authorization for Prime Flight Aviation Services, who has contracted with American Airlines Inc. to provide the icing services to American Airlines at Albany International Airport. The agreement will expire at the earliest of December 31st, 2026. Prime Flight agreement is with American, or American's agreement with the authority. That's all. They do the icing for American Airlines. Right now, we have Southwest does the icing of the aircraft. We saw them start this morning. We also have Unified doing, or Millionaire doing the icing for the other airlines. American wants the contract with Prime Flight so that their contractor will de-ice their own aircraft. That's what they're doing here.
questions for Michael on 10.1? Okay, Steve, motion. Janet, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. 10.2, Chris.
Thank you, Chairman. As Peter indicated in his opening remarks, this is for an amendment to the management services agreement between the authority and the boards. And what we're looking to do is extend the initial term, which expires at the end of this year, for a 9-month period. During that 9-month period, we look to establish a performance measurement framework. So the parties have an open line of communication on expectations and moving forward. Looking for approval and answering questions.
Any questions?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. First of all, we've had a long relationship with Apports here at the airport. So I want to recognize the fact that Apports has been very critical to the success of this airport for a long time. I want to acknowledge the really good relationship that we've had with Apports. I mean, we're always going to have certain issues that we have to resolve and work on. Labor piece, being a primary one, a priority for this board. But we appreciate the level of collaboration that we've had with Apports. What we'd like to see over the next 9 months is, we'd like to see a dialogue where we, explore other opportunities in areas of expertise that Apports has and deploys in other places. So I think we're looking to have, not just a conversation about existing contract services, but to just see and kind of give you guys an opportunity to, wow us, really, to say, look, these are the things that would make ALB, the #1 airport in its class. There's things that you've been asked to do over the last few years that you've done, that we just want to make sure that you feel right about, the contract and that it's right sized and fair. And also, we've done a few of these extensions since I've been on the board, and I think what happened in the past was, the board's non-involvement in the conversations around negotiations, because ultimately it has to come here, and we have to be part of the dialogue. And I think in this extension, we kind of see, I got kind of roped in a little bit to say, look, how do we get to the next step here? Because we were up and had our backs against the wall here in terms of extension of this contract. And I know last year when we did this 1-year extension, I talked about, okay, so what's next? What are the next steps and what happens next and next? And then, because we didn't want to get to that point where, okay, our backs are against the wall and we didn't have a choice. We didn't have part of the dialogue. So I think this contract, particularly, the board has to have a level of involvement. There's other contracts that also, require, because ultimately we have to approve the financials, or we have to approve this contract. So this is one that we've expressed an interest in being involved in. We're not trying to operate the airport, but we're trying to have oversight of contracts and budgetary expense. So over the next 9 months, we have to figure out as a group here, what's the negotiating team look like, and then what are the steps that we're gonna set up to get us to that final. And it could be quicker than 9 months, and I think that's the dialogue we had was, could we do this faster? But it's gonna require some energy and work and collaboration. And so I didn't want to just let this pass without making a point and saying some of the things that, that we've been kind of going through, and to really just express too this level of appreciation for the leadership at Apports. And we're really pleased with the team you have on the ground. Really pleased with Todd and Carmina and your whole staff and the stuff that you guys are doing. And we want to build that. We want you guys to feel good here. We want you to, have a chance to feel like you can settle in and really, help us, get this airport to the next heights, I guess. So I soliloquy.
Second.
Motion Kevin, second Steve. In favor? 10.3, Michael.
Authorization is requested to make purchases using state of New York contracts for the purchase of road development. Currently, and the new year will be $59.95 per ton, down from $61 a ton last year.
Okay, so like hard time hearing you. You said we're roughly $2 down from last year.
Yes. Sorry, yeah.
It's a lot of your sirens. Hearing isn't what it used to be. Thank you, Michael. Any questions for Michael? Self-explanatory. Got a motion, Tom. Second, Janet. All in favor? 10.4, John.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 10.4, I'm looking for the board's authorization to add amendment number 1 to the professional service contract 1153-I. It's a construction inspection for the pre-TSA expansion with Creighton Manning LLP. This extends them out to help us with Concourse A to do steel inspection, concrete inspection, SWIPS inspections, and there's a bunch of special inspections that need to be done per the New York State codes, and they'll take care of all that for us. Just bring that home too. So I'm looking for the board's authorization to amend it for $374,275.74.
Okay, perfect. Any questions on this?
John, did someone else have this job before, or is this a reassignment?
It's an extension of their contract for the terminal build. It just made sense. They're gonna be doing steel inspection at the same time, both in the terminal building. We weren't gonna get it any more economical that way.
Okay. We got a motion and a second. All in favor? John, 10.5.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 10.45, as I alluded to in the board report, the authorization for a purchase order to Green & Peterson Inc. for testing and access escort work over at the air traffic control tower. We've had them employed under POs to do the testing for the air handler units, but they also had to step up and help us with escort. The FAA changed the rules as far as getting the contractors badged, and we had an issue getting them badged. So luckily for us, Green & Peterson had already had people badged from last year for the roof job that they did. So they were available to help us out and do some escort. So they put together a PO for us for not to exceed $75,000. We'll put together to finish this job out. And then Connor and I are working with the FAA to seek reimbursement to get this money back, because it was the FAA changed the rules, had nothing we did. So we're working with the FAA to see getting that money back.
Questions for John? Take a motion. Kevin, second. Janet, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, sticking with John, 10.7.
Might as well, right?
Yep.
Item 10.6 is I'm looking for the board's authorization for another purchase order for Schnell Contracting Limited LLC for an emergency park repairs to the north and south garages. We got behind the 8 ball a little bit with the garages. The roofs leak. We had to close areas last winter. We don't want to do that again this winter. We want to be able to use the whole garage, not having claims for people having stuff dripping on their cars and stuff. So we solicited quotes from local contractors, both DeBrino and Krisha, that have both worked here before, and neither one of those could meet our time frame and guarantee us they'd get it done by the end of the year like we need before the winter flies. Schnell came in. They were recommended by Unistress, who actually built the garage. They're someone that they use. They're a Sika factory recommended installer. Sika is probably one of the premier clocks in the whole world. They're all over, and these guys are recommended by them. So they came in and gave us a price to do 3,000 lineal feet on both the north garage and the south garage for $99,300, and that will get us through the winter. In the spring, we'll have to have a full project to redo the whole thing, but this will get us through the winter so we can use the top floors and the bottom without leaks going through.
Question.
Yeah.
Didn't we just do this to the north garage?
We did it to the north garage, believe it or not, it was 5 years ago.
Yeah. I was probably,
It was right before John left. It was we just finished up, it was 5 years ago, believe it or not. I have no comment.
What's the usual
About 5 years.
5 years.
About 5 years is what you get. The plowing beats the daylights out of it. Even though we use rubber edge plows and that's all we use up on that, it just, after a while, it beats up and then it's so exposed to the light, so you get UV deterioration and it starts breaking away from the edge, and that's what happens. So you get about 5 years if you're lucky. Yeah, that's a good span on that.
Washing the garage, maintaining it is going to keep the garage around for
Correct.
many, many
Yeah.
years. If you don't do this, you don't wash it, you'll get salt penetration into the concrete and you'll wind up demolishing the garage. Which is
We want beyond the.
We want to keep it going.
Any other questions?
I'm
Steve, second. Terry, all in favor? Okay. 10.7, Michael.
Authorization is requested to enter into a one-year contract for insurance brokerage services with Strategies with the option to renew for 2 additional one-year periods. We use insurance brokerage services to procure our lines of insurance. Once they procure those lines, they shop the market, they come with a recommendation for each line, and I bring it to the committee in November or December. Costs of these insurance brokerage services are $60,000. In addition to shopping the market, they also make recommendations to us for additional insurance or reduce our premiums or, increase the amount of the deductible and that information.
Questions for Michael regarding insurance? Seeing none, take a motion. Barry, second. Janet, all in favor? Okay, authorization of change orders, 11.1, John.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 11.1 is authorization for the board to authorize change order number 10 for the value of $35,927 to amend the contract to $33,870,598.41. What this is, it's a compilation of a bunch of small items. The original change order itself was up to $273,000, but we had quite a few credits that I used to back that down, and we're down from 273 down to $35,000. For a lot of items, additional clips for the hangers for the elevators, the escalators, they had to add some concrete rebar and pads because of existing circumstances, work around utilities, all that. And then, like I said, I took a bunch of the credits that we had from the septic issue and backed it in, and we're down to 35.
Question.
I've brought up change orders before. The total here so far, over $1 million. And we haven't even got a piece of steel up.
Correct.
So I know they budgeted, I think, $4 million.
Correct.
So how's that gonna look 2 years down the road, since we're looking at it 2 times?
Getting out of the ground's the hard part. To get out for $1 million is actually pretty good. To get out for a quarter of that contingency is actually pretty good. I was expecting to go for about a third, so I think we're in pretty good shape there. Once we're out of the ground, the unknowns become less because you're building it all new. Coming out of the ground, you're working with things that were already there.
$1 million, so $1 million, you refer to.
$1 million is still $1 million.
Small thing.
I know,
Millions of.
but I keep knocking down the credits every chance I get. So, from 273 down to 35, that helps.
John, I just want to reiterate too, we're interested in getting the final accounting septic issue.
Okay.
Especially if you're going to start exchanging things for credits. You want to make what we're asking for was a full of all of the costs associated with that. We had authority costs associated with that mistake. We had sort of other contractor costs afterwards. I think we had big costs with the contractor PI. So kind of want to get assemblage of that. And not asking for it today or tomorrow, but just as you mentioned, you're going to start exchanging things. I want to get a tally.
I'll get you that. I will have that for you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? We have a motion by Steve. Second, Sari, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. No authorization for state grants. 14, we had I believe that was going to be tabled.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to table at future meeting. John Dodd to give us a fuller update of his analysis from John time to fully review this as we're planning to just get final comments. So maybe we bring it up at
The next
the
meeting.
next meeting.
Okay, so there's a motion to table, waiting for John's findings and thoughts on the plan. I need a second.
Second.
Kevin, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to make a motion going into executive session to discuss particular individuals and corporations.
Motion.
Steve, second, Kevin, all in favor? Thank you.
But I was gonna say, we don't expect to take any action in this executive session. I know we have a lot of people that are here. Expectations, we're gonna discuss some contractual issues. and
Yes.
Then, come back out of executive session, then adjourn the meeting. So just for what's for. If you don't wanna wait around, we don't think we have time to.
Yeah, 5-minute break and then we'll. 5 p.m.